Tewet was born 66 years ago at the foot of these mountains in Borneo, where his tribe, the Dayak Basap, lives.
We call these the Marang Mountains. We've climbed to their very tops, all the way up there. I've been everywhere. We searched for caves, but we did it little by little, a little bit at a time. I've been everywhere, I tell you, and I've explored it all.
These mountains, which we can imagine hold thousands of caves, are a dream come true for a caver like me. Since 1992, I've been exploring Borneo in search of the prehistoric traces hidden in these caves. With a team of archaeologists, we've uncovered astounding 10,000-year-old paintings. All of this would have been impossible without the help of the people who know these mountains best, and above all Tewet, who has become a friend.
This is the greatest explorer of these mountains, Pak Tewet. Pak Tewet's been roaming through these mountains for 40 years. Somewhere in a cave down there, you'll find it's written, Pak Tewet, 1966.
Nicknamed the Dayak of 1,000 Caves by his fellow villagers, Tewet has a good reason for exploring each nook and cranny of these incredible cliffs, the nests of swallows or swiftlets. These birds spend 40 days building nests out of their protein-rich saliva. Unfortunately for them, their nest is edible. Once reserved for emperors, the nests nowadays sell at over 4,000 euros a kilo to rich Chinese who use them in soups reputed for strength and vitality. En route for Indonesia, a 13,000-kilometer trip. For the 16th time, I head to Kalimantan, the term for the Indonesian part of Borneo. I'm on my way to Tewet's home, near the mouth of the Bengalon River. But this time, our goal is not to find new archaeological caves. Over the course of our expeditions, and despite his customary discretion, a sign of greatness in Indonesia, it turns out Tewet is the leading swallow's nest hunter. I've heard that production is down. Everything is changing so fast in Borneo. At the age of 66, Tewet continues to head out into the forest. But for how much longer? I want to capture his account of this unique career. We meet again 7 years after my last trip to Borneo, and it seems just like yesterday, the last time we were together. Tewet lives in a traditional Dayak home. Here, nothing has changed.
This fish is good. I was born in 1947.
Where were you born?
There, upstream.
We slept there the first time.
Yes, that's right.
There was an abandoned house.
An empty house that first time.
There were lots of mosquitoes.
The first time we met. That was the house I was born in.
I also see his wife Ibu Alima again and his 2 grandchildren. Far removed from the hustle and bustle of Indonesia's sprawling urban centers, this tiny Dayak village appears to be a haven of peace. The community boasts barely 1,000 members.
I went into the forest as early as, let's say, the age of 11, to enter the caves nearest here. I could climb if there were caves that reached a few meters back, and my parents let me go in them.
No sooner had I arrived than they confirmed that the production of nests in the caves, responsible for the village's prosperity, had hit an all-time low. The community had reached a critical juncture. What has happened to the swallows? Why are they disappearing? And above all, how will these free men manage not to lose their freedom by working in the increasingly numerous palm oil plantations? I want to find out. Like every true Dayak, Tewet's got the travel bug. It didn't take long to convince him to join me on this 2-week autonomous expedition. The role of every wise elder is to predict the fate of their community. We set off on Tewet's final round to the farthest reaches of his terrain. It takes several pirogues to carry all of our supplies, fuel, camp gear and so on. We mustn't overlook anything or else we'll simply have to live without it. I'm impatient to leave these inhabited zones behind and venture back into the forest, surrounded by nature. Finally, we set off. At last. Tewet knows this river like the back of his hand. Each little tributary an obstacle. If everything goes smoothly, our team should reach the heart of the forest and the mountains after 4 days on the river. 80 kilometers as the crow flies, but triple that with all the twists and turns. Tewet has chosen his team carefully. At the helm, his nephew Ohung, an expert boatsman, and at the prow, his friend Ham, a nest hunter like himself, his spiritual son, so to speak. At last, the foothills of the Morang Mountains. From here on, there'll be more and more rapids and dead tree trunks, but Tewet directs the pirogue like an orchestra conductor. A cliff, banana trees, a watchman's shack. This looks like a spot for a cave with swallows' nests. Oh Hung steers straight for a cave hidden in the vegetation.
I hope we'll find some to harvest.
Me too.
Yeah.
Ah, there's some.
There are nests.
I'll scrape. You catch them down below. It's almost off. Catch it?
Okay. Sebelah sini.
There are 3 types of swiftlets that make edible nests. These nests aren't as good quality since they're composed partly of plants.
Nah, kalau ini kan dari lumut, dari
This is made from moss, Roots and rock moss.
kayu dari lumut batu. Gitu.
This here is from saliva.
Ini. Kalau yang ini kan nempel.
It's the side that stuck to the rock.
Kalau untuk dijual
We'll barely make $1 by selling it.
10.000.
Just enough for a pack of cigarettes.
Kalau ini kalau untuk dimakan aja.
Generally, we'd rather eat it than sell it.
Sekarang.
Right. It makes you strong and gives you vitality.
After a day in the pirogue under the blazing sun, it's time to stop. We are almost right on the equator here. The sun sets all at once at 6 p.m.
This is a perfect spot to set up camp.
Tewet knows the best camps are close to the river on high ground in case of a flash flood. This is the dry season, but you never know. The water allows us to bathe and cook and generally make everything a little better.
It's not like it used to be. Before, fishing was too easy. There's no more crayfish now. But before, the amount of fish has dropped, and I have no idea how many we're going to catch.
Tewet is a Dayak. That's what the natives of Borneo's great forest and rivers are called. He learned to walk, paddle and fish at the same time. His rare ancestors lived in harmony with a seemingly inexhaustible nature.
Ayo 3.
Tewet and Ham have told me about a cave with an evocative name, Gua Sungai, the cave of the river. Swallows used to nest here. They want to see if they've returned. No sooner do we enter than we have our first surprise. The cave's guardian. This 3-meter-long snake can snatch a bat or swallow right out of the air. Though it's a garter snake, its bites are fearsome since they don't easily heal. It isn't the cave's only surprise. True to its name, a river runs through the cave during the rainy season. The water dissolves the limestone and creates these prolific concretions and hanging basins. Could this be an evil spirit changed into stone? It's no surprise that the island's natives have always maintained a complex relationship of attraction and repulsion with the underground realm. Here, all sorts of underground animals live in pitch dark. Though the nest hunters have managed to overcome their fears in the interest of economics, they nevertheless don't linger once their business is completed. Tewet, however, is a true caver. He explores out of curiosity and is always on the lookout. Here, he finds neither swallows nor paintings, only a large bat colony, and the two species don't live together.
Oh my, there are a lot of bones. Make it crispy. It's going to be delicious. This isn't cooked enough. Tomorrow we may have to walk. The river is too low and it's going to be hard on the water. We'll leave early at 7 or 8.
Third day. We leave the Bengalon for a tributary of clear water that bears the same name as the mountains, Merang. This is the key for penetrating Tewet's stomping ground. It drains a forest that is preserved today, where few people venture. Starting here, we'll have only ourselves to depend on. Since it is hidden beneath the vegetation, this river doesn't exist on the maps. But Tewet has never needed a map. The places are inscribed in his memory, handed down from generation to generation. Between the rocks and the rapids, both men and gear suffer, and we experience more and more mechanical troubles. Will we actually manage to reach the source by pirogue, something Tewet has only accomplished once before? Legend has it that this area is haunted by evil spirits. Today, there's nothing to fear. The noise of the motor scares demons away. I was skeptical, yet here we are at the source of the Merang. The river emerges from a cave. It's a resurgence, the spot where a subterranean river emerges above ground. Come on, shall we go into the cave? Cross to Sedepan? Shall we follow the river? The river disappears underground on the other side of the mountain. Its water has a unique color in the region, tinted by iron oxide. Tewet was the first one to make the connection back in the 1960s. At the time, he gave the river and the mountain the same name, Merang, which means golden in Dayak Basa. From here on, we'll continue on foot along the trail opened up by the nest hunters, crossing a pass to reach the giant Sedepan cave, the spot where the river enters the mountain. It's the next goal of our expedition. Approaching Sedepan seems to have put Tewet in a talkative mood. He recalls the adventures of his youth.
Kalau kita sudah
When we'd find a cave, we'd spend the night there.
artinya kita sudah apa namanya itu?
And the next day, we'd explore it even further.
Sudah besoknya lagi kita cari lagi gitu. Biasanya itu kalau
Generally, there were 3 or maybe 5 of us.
kita cari itu masing-masing bawa makanan.
We'd bring all our food along and share it equally,
Artinya kita
depending on how many days we needed to survive.
bawa air juga.
We'd also bring our water.
Atau
Everyone had to carry 5 liters, and when we ran out, we'd have to go back down and start over again.
lagi naik lagi gitu.
Ham is the spiritual son of Tewet, and yet they are worlds apart. He arrived in the region 20 years ago to pay for his son's education and never left.
Careful.
Whereas Tewet hunts in a group, Ham is a lone wolf. I met him not long after Tewet, and he's never missed one of my missions, informed by who knows what forest hotline.
Oh, pakai teropong.
I use binoculars to see far away.
Teropong kita kan bisa lihat jauh. Ya,
I used to come here a lot
seringkali.
To do what?
Untuk ngintip
to look for swallows.
burung walet.
Aren't you afraid to climb the mountains all alone?
Oh tidak, karena kita
Oh
kan
no, I'm used to climbing the mountains alone. I'm used to being alone in the forest.
Karena saya hobi
These sawtooth mountains are my passion.
gergaji ini.
Don't you get tired of doing this work?
Ya,
Yes, it tires me out now because it's laborious.
bosan. Kalau sekarang
It's
mulai
become
sudah bosan
laborious
karena
since the prices have
penghasilannya
dropped.
sudah menurun. Kalau untuk hidup,
We need to find some other way to earn a living now.
jalan lain. Kemungkinan sampai sekarang belum.
But for the
belum
time
ada
being, I haven't found an alternative.
mencari jalan keluarnya. Sekarang ya
I'm
masih
looking, but I haven't come up with a solution yet.
apa yang baik di situ nanti saya. Jangan.
We set out with the bare minimum. It takes all the Dyak's ancestral know-how to locate the trails overgrown by vegetation and get our bearings in this land of pinnacles, crevices, and valleys that lead nowhere. After 2 days on foot, we reached the golden waters of the Morang. Now all we have to do is follow the river to Sedepan Cave.
Kalau dulu nggak ada.
Before, you'd get lifetime rights to caves,
Selamanya,
like Sedepan Cave. I'm the one who discovered it. It still brings in money, but it's not mine anymore. The administration took it away.
At last we reach Sedepan Cave. The small stronghold is not very welcoming. Armed guards protect the cave from greedy invaders. There have been several attacks by thieves in the past few years, causing the death of at least one attacker.
It's me, Ham.
Ham lawan su Tewet.
Ham and Tewet.
Ever since the authorities seized the cave, armed guards have been positioned here and the government auctions off the harvest. There was too much money at stake for politicians to keep out of it. The guards don't have it easy all alone up in their citadel. They're bored stiff as they wait for an unlikely enemy to happen along. Tewet has been the overseer of the cave for 7 years. He only gets to see his family and 2 children a few days every couple of months.
Yes, it's hard to live in the mountains. It's a struggle to survive and support the family. That's why we keep doing it. My wife and kids need to eat. That's the husband's responsibility. The boss says that since production and the price of nests has gone down, he's had to lower our pay.
What?
The cave has worn me out.
Were you just in there?
Yes, we're just coming out.
The atmosphere among the guards has completely changed from what I saw 15 years ago the first time I visited. The harvests were plentiful, the baskets filled with nests, and money was rolling in.
In 1994, Setapan was filled with nests. At the time, we produced about 100 kilos. Now, it's much less.
Back then, it was really amazing. There was lots of action. Once my father and I entered the cave, and it was like a war. We got threatened with spears. It was a big mess. People were swimming in the river.
Tewet makes an exception and agrees to show us the state of the colonies in Setapan's unauthorized zone. Once more, our explorer sees the vast caverns of his youth. It's a complex underground network of caves situated one on top of the other and branching out over 7 kilometers.
It's a forest fire that ruined the Setapan cave. The smoke came into the cave and stagnated inside. It was black with smoke.
Some died, others moved away.
As a result, the number of nests immediately started to drop. There were fewer and fewer until now. Our last harvest didn't even yield 30 kilos.
This footage was taken back in the golden age of Setapan before the Great Fire of 1997. In 15 months' time, 1/4 of Borneo went up in smoke. Here we can see the methodical raiding of the nests, even ones with eggs in them.
Sometimes when we find some, we eat them like this. It's very healthy to swallow them whole.
The job used to last 4 days for a harvest of 110 kilograms, worth 36,000 euros. In just a few minutes in this very cavern, they could easily fill a 2-kilo bag. An almost industrial-scale overexploitation whose result wasn't hard to predict. Demand for the nests just keeps rising, and the price along with it. 250-gram bags sell for 1,000 euros apiece in airports.
The first time, we didn't venture very deep into the cave. We didn't have any electric lamps. We used candles, one per person. We only really got to take advantage of the cave for 2 years.
Only 3 guarded caves like Sedipan remain, whereas 10 years ago there were dozens. If I understand correctly, according to the guards, it was the Great Fire and not overexploitation that caused nest production to drop. Our team continues on to a cave that belongs to Tewet and that he's managed to exploit behind the government's back. Ham does the harvesting for Tewet when he goes on his solo rounds. Since these are white nests, 10 times more valuable than the black nests of Sedipan, it's worth going out of your way to see. 800 meters into the cave, at last we find the spot where the colony of white nest swiftlets live. The last harvest only yielded about 20 nests.
Oh no.
The colonies died out.
Yes, it was the last colony.
It's all over. Before, there were always nests here. Now it's practically empty. Usually we could gather 200 or 300 nests. The nest shouldn't look like this. It should be all white, like here. It should be bigger, 2 fingers wide.
If we harvest before they fly off, there'll be no more offspring.
There are only old birds left to build nests. Maybe they're like us, and the old ones can't have babies.
Maybe in 2 years, it'll all be over.
We need to find another means of survival. First, the forest burned. Then, too many people harvested nests, taking them before they were even finished. We all feel sick about it.
Maybe we'll have to make plantations in order to live.
You need capital for that.
At least we won't be dependent on the nests anymore.
I'm moved by my friend's realization and consternation. Is there no other alternative? No way to carry on with their ancestral way of life in the Morang Mountains? On the way back, I suggest to Tewet that we meet with the traditional chief in the village. I have a few questions for him.
Careful! Don't fall. Don't get water in the boat.
Once we reach the big river, we come across vessels loaded to the gills with wood cut into planks and beams. It's a far cry from the heavy traffic I saw on the river 15 years ago. Rafts of floating trees lined up endlessly all the way to the sawmills of Bengalon, owned by Indonesians of Chinese origin. How much per cubic meter?
40.
40 what?
40 euros.
For a cubic meter?
Yes.
40 euros a cubic meter. In other words, 11 times lower than the current world prices for Meranti, which makes the best plywood. The tropical forest is being bled dry, and for sums that are ridiculously low.
What's this wood used for?
To make furniture and houses.
Where does it go?
It's exported to Java.
But that was 15 years ago. Since then, forest legislation has evolved in Indonesia. At least that's what the official announcements say. My friends recognize my doubts. With self-assurance, our boatman Ohung docks before an encampment. He explains that this cabin is his, and he prepares our midday meal.
We're having instant noodles. Lunch is served.
I'm not really sure where I am.
Ham and Tewet lead me along a cleared path. No doubt about it now, we're in a logging operation. Tewet seems embarrassed. He downplays the operation.
Here they take only the trees they need, the ones that are useful. Not little trees like those.
But maybe one day there'll be no trees left. Then what?
It's not over yet. When it's for local use, that's enough.
But there are no longer boats to transport them abroad.
No, they don't do that anymore.
Why not?
Because there are no more logging permits.
It's impossible to export.
It's only for villagers' use, nothing more.
The ban on foreign export of wood is good news. It limits industrial operations and keeps them from getting out of hand. And even if I don't like watching a tree in the forest get massacred by a chainsaw, we mustn't forget that the Dayak have always cut the trees they need in order to build homes and boats. We can imagine sustainable management of the forest that would allow them to continue living from it without depleting it. Is this your house you're building?
No, it's for my brother.
Are you a worker?
I'm just a worker.
A wooden house in this extremely humid climate ages quickly. Tewet takes me to see the traditional village chief. Pak Akim confirms my fears. It's not only the disappearance of the swallows that is endangering the community.
The good land has been taken. How are we supposed to survive? For our gardens, everything's been taken. It's finished.
Before, we didn't have to go far to hunt animals. There used to be deer, but now, since the oil palms, there's nothing left. The entire mangrove forest has become oil palms. It's not good. It destroys the forest.
I wanted to find this patch of forest I'd taken pictures of one misty morning 18 years ago. It too has become a desert of palms, jacked up on chemical fertilizers and other herbicides. But the worst is yet to come. These open-pit coal mines are ripping holes 50 meters down into the earth, and they keep creeping closer to the Morang Mountains. In town, blind buildings, vertical flocks of birds. Money men invest in these ersatz caves or swiftlet farms where nests are now produced. This is the future Indonesia has reserved for its wildlife.
We're very concerned about this. The company's been mining coal for a long time, and it's the same for oil palms. But we need to think about what's left of our forest, too.
Isn't there any hope? A brighter future for the community? I'm suffocating in the village. We set off once more with Ham and Tewet for a patch of primary forest nestled at the foot of the Morang Mountains. Don't count on me to give away its location. Our destination is a secret cave perched high in the cliffs and concealed by vegetation, a place that holds another treasure that Tewet is keeping watch over. On our way, we'll take a quick inventory of the biodiversity in this hotspot. 12 years ago, I had an unforgettable encounter. A leopard cat, a nocturnal creature, caught in a trap. Can you cut the rope? Even Tewet had never seen a live one. Where's it going?
It's running away.
I don't see any ginseng. Usually there's lots of it along the trail.
For the well-versed like Tewet, the forest is a medicine cabinet.
This used to be used as a hair conditioner. Natural medicine for women to nourish and enhance the hair.
Yet one more reason to protect this forest that contains drugs unknown to modern medicine. What do you know? Tewet, the botanist and traditional practitioner. Truly, this man never ceases to amaze me.
This is used as medicine when one vomits blood. The leaves have veins. One side is green, the other red. The one with thorns is not medicinal.
We use it to make sauce.
Right, the leaves are edible. It's called kambat-utan. It smells good.
It's flavorful.
This plant's called juramet aki. We crush the leaves into a mash and apply it to wounds.
Suddenly, I ask Tewet if there's anything to help my back. I get an almost instantaneous reply.
Bangkit creeper, a drug used for lumbago. You brew it up into a tea.
I try it out that very night. A success. A little bitter, though.
Oh, here's some stones.
It's a whetstone.
Yeah. Yeah.
These natural stones were good. This is how our ancestors did it.
Yeah.
Last night at camp, I asked Ham if he knew where we could find orangutans. Ham seemed sure of himself, yet we've been turning in circles for an hour. He uses every trick in the huntsman's book, but to no avail. Here's a nest. It's empty, but it hasn't been for long, he whispers. Orangutan means man of the forest in Indonesian. This tailless great ape is only found in Borneo and Sumatra. it is an endangered species. I'm pleased a few individuals have found a haven of peace in this isolated forest of the Morang Mountains. But what about the rest? The slope is steep, nearly vertical. At his age, it's quite a feat, but Tewet is highly motivated. Just 100 meters higher, his famous treasure awaits in a cave. This time, the treasure is not edible, yet it just may offer his community a second chance. Tewet is worried since he knows his treasure is fragile, but he is reassured with his very first glance.
Yes, there they are. There are the paintings. These look like animals. This hand is bigger than ours. There are 5 fingers, like us, but it's bigger. Perhaps the man was bigger and stronger than us. It looks strange to us. It was in 1964. We were only looking for swallows' nests.
At the time, we didn't pay attention to these hand paintings.
When we met Tewet 15 years ago, he guided me and my team of archaeologists to this cave. It's crazy. There's red ones and brown ones, you see? Look with the band too. There too. There's more.
There are lines too, look at that.
Look at this here.
This is the most beautiful of the 35 decorated caves we've discovered and studied in Borneo. Look there, it's amazing. It's like a little lizard. They're everywhere. The whole ceiling's painted. In homage, I named the cave Gua Tewet.
Look, the paintings continue all the way here.
Hold on. This is amazing. How many does that make? Is this the 11th cave? 31, 32 in there, so 30, 60, about 100. Obviously, this tracing technique is not micrometrically accurate, but it's adapted to the field conditions, to the remoteness of the caves, and the fact that we're only here 2 or 3 days at most, whereas it would take 3 months to make a perfect tracing. It lets me get the exact dimensions of the paintings and to reconstitute them later on the computer based on a complete series of photos. These paintings are absolutely unique. Dating from over 10,000 years ago, they are an important find in terms of world heritage. Back at the time, we urged Tewet to protect them in the hope that one day amateur adventurists would come to admire them as tourists. In the wake of these archaeological discoveries, the Indonesian government has declared the Morang Mountains a natural reserve. A vast national park is being created that will include the deep forest, caves, and all the limestone mountains of the region.
I'm afraid we'll lose this heritage from the past. We have to watch over it and manage it well. We must protect what remains to ensure our future. I hope it will still exist for our grandchildren and can become a good business and create healthy cooperation with tourists. I'm prepared to truly dedicate myself to this project.
I hope this treasure will allow Tewet and his community to make a fresh start by opening the doors of their paradise to small groups of respectful amateur adventurers, and in this way preserve their mountain way of life and the caves of their ancestors.